Hello everyone, my name is Avalon, and as we were talking earlier, we thought we'd finish catching that Poe that I was mentioning. I'm not saying that it took me all night and I had to go get more arrows, but there's a potential of it. We are of course going through a randomizer of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and I'm doing a absolutely terrible job of talking about Metroidvanias and some conversations my friends and I had about what is and is not a Metroidvania. Ended up going into some wild tangents about what's good about the dungeons in this game and similar. So I thought I'd carry on along that theme anyway and talk about some of the theming points, I guess, because there's a lot of stuff that went through from a theme point of view as well with the dungeons, and we talked about it a little bit in the last one, I suppose, but not in depth. So I'll sell this guy this Poe. There we go. 100 points. And it's just a rupee. It's kind of displeasing. I mean, it's good in the sense that it gets me closer to buying that Goron tunic that I keep meaning to go and buy and never do. But still kind of lame. Cool. Jump on the old Epona and let's go to the Gerudo Fortress. So yeah, theming. We'll go through them in order, shall we? We'll follow the linearity to some extent. And we'll talk a little bit about the child dungeons first. And the first dungeon, the Great Deku Tree, is, in my opinion, perfectly themed. You have big bads put a curse on the area, which is a bit overdone, but get over it. Big bads always put curses on things. So that's kind of the first, negative, I guess. But you go into this tree and you find out it's been cursed by a big spider, specifically an armored arachnid. And the enemies in the tree are all kind of like forest folk. They're biting plants, they're spiders anyway, they're the sort of things that if you went to your local forest, then you would absolutely find those sort of... What? Jump over the bridge, you silly thing. You'd absolutely find those sorts of... what's the word I'm looking for? There we go. There's sort of things you could find in a forest, there's nothing that needs to be further said about it, I don't feel. The shrubs, are kind of not realistic, but in this world they are what you find in the forests. So yeah, it's quite on theme. The boss is a spider, which would probably live in a tree. If you were going to be a spider, that's where I'd imagine that you choose to live. I can't obviously speak for certainty, but I'd suggest that is potentially what the outcome would be. Can you arrest me? Thank you. The next one, Dodongo's Cavern. Oh. I thought they threw you into prison. Not out here. How weird. Okay, well, we'll just be super sneaky and make my way into the... Oh, I suppose it does that because it doesn't expect you to have the hook shot, and if you get thrown into prison without the hook shot, because you're an idiot and you didn't think about that, then you'd be stuck. I suppose that makes quite a lot of sense. And I'm an idiot. Yeah, then Dodongo's Cavern, obviously, it makes sense again. It is a cavern full of Dodongos. And inside that cavern you can find baby Dodongos and adult Dodongos. The lizard foss are a little bit weird, but they are at least on... it makes sense if Ganondorf has sent his soldiers and they are his soldiers. And then inside Jabba Jabba's belly, despite me thinking it is one of the best dungeons in the game, it definitely does not make sense for him to have jellyfish inside him. I understand that he's been cursed and whatnot, and I get that side of it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me in terms of the game. Jump, tumbling. There we go. Super. I hate killing these things sometimes. Now, this is another one of those things that should be limited to just freeing up one. So he gets freed. Awesome. Off he goes. And then I should be able to, yeah, super. There we go. That's handy. Thank you. I like your black coins. See, now we can explore this a bit more freely as well. Yeah, so it doesn't make much sense at all, in my opinion. Thieves Valley, it's just a bit of a weird one, but I do like it. I think it's pretty cool. Then we come into the adult world, and here we'll talk about the coming up to it as well, because that matters a bit. It makes sense that the Zora would have like a pond dedicated to their guardian dude, and it makes sense that yeah, it makes sense that the Gorons would have a cave near them where they can get their food source, but you know, there are other things that are going to live in that cave, and that's completely logical. I don't see what the issue with that could be for anyone ever. Can you... Oh my lord. I didn't even get them. Oh, that's annoying. So yeah, we go into the adult ones, and the forest temple, deep within the forest, makes perfect sense. Love it. Behind the Lost Woods gives it that mystery sort of feel that is very important, and absolutely necessary. Then you come across the next thing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I need the hook shot. But yeah, so you go through the Lost Woods, which is, you know, it's the mystery. It explains why not many people can find the forest temple. It works pretty well. And then you come to the Sacred Forest Meadow, which in adult times has had Link, or had Ganondorf, sorry, infest it with the guard dogs, which, as I spoke about last time, they don't make sense. Or it's not so much about them not making sense, I suppose. It's that they're not consistent as a theme, because once you get into the Forest Temple, it's completely gone again. You've got the Stalfos, which are kind of like adult school children, really, in my head anyway. I appreciate that Twilight Princess kind of confirms it, but doesn't. But it makes sense to me, at least, that the Stalfos would be like that. And yeah, then you've got Deku Scrubs, Deku Babbers again, so forest things once again. Which, you know, it makes sense. So, can you do this in the morning? Oh, maybe you can only do it in the morning. Have a quick look around for the lady. Oh well. Well, time does change here, I think. Does it? But it definitely changes outside of here. But we can find out what this dungeon is anyway. Right, super, sorry. So the Forest Temple, and then having Phantom Ganon there, you know, it works with the, like, I guess, I can't think of the word now. The mansion sort of thing with it, you know, like mansions. Ah, here's the water temple. Well, I can't do anything in here. I haven't got iron boots or hookshot. So that's kind of lame. Yeah, so that kind of works, but and it kind of matches the Stalfos in visual design, but it's a push. It's a big push. I don't understand why, like, they have wolfos in there, which is fine because wolves live in the forest, whatever. But I don't understand why there is, oh, I'm really struggling to get my words out today, I don't know why. I don't understand why they don't use the guard dogs inside the temple, you know? Ganon's clearly got control of the temple because he has his phantom inside it as the boss. So it wouldn't be a surprise to find that his troops are inside the temple as well, but for some reason it is a surprise, and I just don't fully get it, I guess. Of course, it's taken ages for daytime to come back around. But yeah, so I don't know, I feel like there's missed opportunity there. The Poe sisters are pretty cool. It makes sense with the whole Kume Kutake parents of Ganon stuff. But I feel like they were underutilized in that temple, being that they were just in the temple. There was nothing particularly special about them, and nothing that was ever brought up about them after the temple. Whereas if they were like, I don't know, other children of Kume and Kutake or something that had died or whatever, it would just made it a little bit more interesting from a storyline point of view. So yeah, the inside of the Forest Temple is really good from a thematic point of view, and the music is awesome. I don't think I need to really argue my point on that one. But the lead up to it just doesn't make sense, you know? Just doesn't make sense. The first time you go to Sacred Forest Meadow, it has scrubs in it, so I don't understand why they just put the bigger, stronger scrubs that did something unique in there, but hey, I'm not in charge, so whatever. The Fire Temple has a really cool lead up. Super. So we need to do good on this, which we've proven we can't. Just concentrating now. Why did neither of those count? Well, I hit the first goal, I suppose. But yeah, it's really cool to come back to Goron City, where you know you'd have that whole brotherly love thing. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh wait, it's not. I got the bigger wallet. It's all good. And then you return to find out that everyone's dead and it's all been ruined and destroyed and stuff. So you know, I like that anyway. I think it's quite clever and cool. So we need to be super effective with my arrows here, and that was not the effective start we were looking for. I don't think I can do it now. If I get 100 points per arrow, I can do it still. So, perfect. Not good enough. Not good enough at all. Okay. We'll leave it. We're not going to do any better than that, I can assure you of that. So we'll head to Kakariko and go from there, I guess. Or we could... No, it's the water temple, isn't it? So we can't. Yeah, so you come back, you find everything's destroyed, you find that Darunia had a son and he's named it after you, which is really cool. And I feel like it's, you know, quite believable in the sense that that is kind of how that would happen. You could absolutely, potentially have that situation where some great hero does something and then one of the locals names their child after the great hero, and I think it's sweet, you know, and it gives you like more of a personal connection to the area, and then you have to go into the temple which is in the middle of a volcano, which makes perfect sense for the fire temple, thematically speaking. And then you get inside, and the enemies you face, some make sense, some do not. But we'll get onto enemies in a moment, because the first thing to talk about is the fire temple as it's laid out. It makes quite decent sense, I guess, for how it's laid out. It's a temple, it's got various rooms in there, and the first room you enter is like very spiritual, so it looks like somewhere where people go to worship. I know there was a whole controversy about the chanting and whatnot, and I'm not going to get involved in that, if I'm honest, but it is quite cool to think that that is there. Yeah, so then you go through, you rescue the Gorons. It's a very personal touch, and last episode to talk about, I don't like the key aspect of it. But the thematic, the story points of rescuing those Gorons is just cool. It's just fun, and it makes you feel like you're actually being a hero. It's very heroic, which in the game where you are supposed to be the hero of time, makes sense that you would do something heroic. So that's quite cool. But yeah, the enemies, you got the weird slug things, which are quite cool, and thematically make sense because if you go to real life volcanoes, they have those weird slug things that can survive at stupid temperatures and whatnot. So that's cool. I'm on board with that. And then you have like these fire spirits, which I think they make sense for a fire temple. You know, temples do tend to have spirits in them. It makes perfect sense to me, at least, anyway. So yeah, I'm on board with that. And then the final, the boss to being the dragon, again, makes sense. Like, throughout the whole game, you're told that there's an angry dragon on top of the fire temple and whatnot. My issue with it is it actually takes away from the value of the other bosses that, you know, they are there because Ganondorf has done something, whereas the dragon is not loyal to Ganondorf as far as we're aware. It's just been awoken by him. So I don't really understand why it's such a big deal, I guess, for the dragon to be the boss. I feel like it could have been like I don't know, you need to link it back to Ganondorf is my point, and I don't think they do that. Now I need to remember where the fire temple was. So Ice Cavern was Ice Cavern. This is the Spirit Temple. What was in the Great Deku Tree? Jabby Jabby's belly was in the Great Deku Tree. I've been to the Fire Temple. Well, at least I can go to Death Mountain's crater now and have a wee look around and whatnot, and then see if I can recall where the Fire Temple was in this randomizer. So yeah, then we go on to the Water Temple, and now the Water Temple, I actually think, thematically speaking, is one of the better ones because it's not linked to any particular race. It's just a temple, which, you know, it's cool. It's just a temple. There's nothing unique about it. There's nothing special about it. It's just a temple. It's not like got some weird backstory linked to the local civilization, which I appreciate. It does sometimes make sense to have that linking to the civilization that it's near. But it doesn't always have to be like that, and I like that the Wood Temple is like that, where it's not absolutely linked to the Zora, for example, because they've got the great Jabu Jabu as their weird deity. And the Forest Temple's similar in that sense, you know, where it's not directly linked to the Kokiri. It's a Hylian temple that the Saria knows about, but the majority of the Kokiri don't know about. And why should they? Because again, they have their Great Deku Tree as their deity. So I think it's done really well in that sense. I like that it is underwater, makes sense for a water temple, and I think that once you get inside, talking from music to everything else, it just works. from a just talking about music standpoint, it has a very sort of serene sort of flowing to it, and that's nice. And the enemies that are in there, they're clams and weird spike ball things. I don't know what the spike ball things are supposed to be, but not really. But I do like their presence, and I appreciate what they are and what they're there for and stuff. And they are, at the very least, you know, water-based enemies. Then you have the Techites that skate across the top, which, just like from a familiarity point of view, like, you have Techites as you've seen cutting up Death Mountain Trail a million times. You know, we have Techites, we know what they are, and then to have like a water variety of them is quite cool. So yeah, that's quite cool. The long shot's kind of lame, and I know that everyone bangs on about how brilliant the fight is with Dark Link. They say the stick is mightier than the sword. Okay, great. So helpful. And I cannot disagree with that, but it just doesn't make sense. And I know that after you've done the fight, like, the room returns to normal or whatever, but like, it still doesn't suddenly make it make sense just because it could. Alright, I'm very confused as to what this green rectangle is. I know there's like a magic bean place you can plant as a child, but that's the only thing that I can think of right now. Okay. Okay, so you're supposed to go in the other way, but I still haven't been able to get the hook shot. I kind of thought I'd get the hook shot by now, if I'm honest. And I really seem to be struggling to get it, and I can't think of where it is. So yeah, the Shadow Temple, I actually, if you include that what's it called? Include that the if you include the Fire Temple in with it, not the Fire Temple, sorry, Beneath the World in with it, then it works pretty cool. I really can't think of where the Fire Temple was, to be honest, which is kind of winding me up. Oh! No, I do know where it was. It was, Yes. But yeah, if you include Beneath the Well, and incorporate it all as one big dungeon, then it actually works out pretty cool. And there's no denying, you know, I brought it up last time, thematically speaking, it is amazing. It's a really, really strong dungeon with a unique storyline that a lot of things maybe are a little bit scared to actually talk about. And, you know, nothing wrong with being scared to talk about certain things by any means, but it is pleasant to see that this game isn't afraid to talk about maybe that the royal family aren't so golden in this world, which is, you know, it's a real thing that we need to face in the real world. You know, how good are our governments? You know, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people out in the world that would agree that sometimes governments are a little bit not the best. So it's nice to know that this royal family has its dark and bloody history and whatnot. Yeah, and you can't deny that once you get in there, the obstacles and enemies you face seem to be mostly based around the fact that you, like, they're based around torture devices and guillotines and stuff like that, so that it's a bit more creepy, I guess, than what you'd maybe expect from this sort of game. And you mix that with Beneath the World, which doesn't make so much sense thematically, because, you know, why is there this Beneath the World place? You know, it's never really discussed. which I always found quite disappointing, because I thought that could be quite interesting. All it does really is house the Lens of Truth, which is cool. Like, you know, it's nice that it has its own place to be, and it's quite a unique place to be as well. But yeah, I guess, well, I feel my point about it is quite clear in that the Land of the World just doesn't seem to fit thematically, but the Shadow Temple definitely does. The enemies that they use are really thematically relevant. They're like skeletons and stuff, and then Bongo Bongo is a big evil sealed spirit, which makes perfect sense for the context of the temple. I think that thematically speaking, it's probably one of the stronger entries into the series. And that leaves with the Spirit Temple. I think the only thing that the Spirit Temple really has going for it is the fact that it's in the desert. So it doesn't make sense that it's a Spirit Temple. Like, why is that the Spirit Temple and so forth? But then why is, you know, the Temple of Time, why isn't the Light Temple? But, you know, once you get inside it, it seems much more to be like about or based around the idea that... just land that more carefully. It seems to be much more based around the idea that it is a desert temple, and less about the fact that it is a spirit temple. I'm kind of hoping that makes sense, because it's not the most clear point I've made in my life. But my point really is that in the terms of what it is, it doesn't really make sense. It would make more sense for it to be like I don't know, really. I don't know what you'd theme it as in line with the other ones. The other ones are elements, so, you know, maybe a wind temple. And maybe it was supposed to be at some point, I don't know. But it just seems like it'd fit that more. But overlooking that, once you get inside the temple, it is very well themed around its like continuous nature. It's all one thing. It doesn't like dip and dot around what it's trying to be. Which is, you know, it's kind of what you want. So that's good. And I'm trying to think, the enemies in there don't really make sense, really. They're kind of just random. Same with the Gerudo Fortress, which again doesn't make sense in terms of lead up. The only bit that does make sense in terms of lead up is the sort of moving towards it. But yeah, super. So yeah, and then that just kind of leaves the Temple of Time, which is what it is. You know, it's a temple of time. So, just running along here now. I don't even know what I'm intending to do. I'm just trying to think of what I could do. I thought I could do more of the Fire Temple, to be honest, but I'm obviously a key short somewhere because I've got that bundle of arrows. So I need the Megaton Hammer to finish it off, really. So we're going to have to go and look for something else, I guess. But we'll work it out. Shan't be too difficult. Just head into the haunted wasteland. There is like a little thing out here somewhere, and it's going to be sheer luck if I make it. But I'm pretty sure there's a chest in this over here. Oh no, did that wrong. Okay. But yeah, you get to the... Oh, that cost me a heart. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm never gonna work this out. But I can definitely get to this thing here. There we go. There's the death. How displeasing. But yeah, so that was kind of the themes of the dungeons in this game anyway. I like how they link them all together at the end, although again, they don't all seem to link up perfectly. For example, the water temple suddenly goes back to being ice themed. I don't really get that, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm going to take a wee break, and I will catch you all next week, I guess. Thank you so much for watching so far, if you have been. I appreciate this is a really nonsensical sort of thing, and it hasn't really followed any structure. Normally, I would be far more structured in these sort of things, as most people know from the Troll School series. But I don't know. I just kind of went on a bit of a random one and sort of thought see where it goes. And this is where it's gone so far. So I will catch you all next time, where I'll probably talk about some dungeons from some other games, and then probably start leaning into Breath of the Wild a little bit. So I will catch you all next time.